Hello and welcome to Adventure Mind 2023. It's fantastic to have you here. We have, hopefully, a fantastic lineup for you to inspire change. I'm going to tell you a little bit now about why we're here, what we're trying to do, where Adventure Mind came from, and also where we're heading, and how you can be involved in that, how, I want to hear from you what we can do better, what we can do, feedback, and also I have some help to ask from you as well. So this is essentially our mission statement. This is what we're trying to achieve. And I think it's always good just to have something very clearly, the goal. I teach expedition leadership, and I always say, well, the first thing you have to do is actually know what you're doing. Like, what is your goal? Where are you going? Otherwise, every other decision afterwards is very hard. So this is what we're trying to achieve. And this is a room full of people who are very much invested and are already doing this. And how do we make it better? How do we join things up? And so on. I'll give you a little bit of background. Now, some of you have heard me talk more at length about how this came about. I'm going to do a much briefer version, so as not to bore people who've heard this before. But my name's Belinda Kirk. I have been leading groups into the wilderness for nearly 30 years, which makes me feel very old to say that out loud. Lots of jungles and desert. I've taken lots of film crews into places, lots of scientific expeditions. I've taken scientists here, there, and everywhere. Sort of was a biologist years ago. That's how I sort of started off. And also I've done a lot of youth development expeditions, especially with the brilliant British Exploring Society. And Wunmi is here today. There's Wunmi from BES, if you want to say hi to Wunmi. She can tell you all about how brilliant BES is, although I'm sure many of you know. And I've worked with other organisations, but the youth development expeditions are the best things I've done in my whole career, because they really mean something. And when you look back on 30 years, it's like, was it taking celebrities? I mean, and taking scientists, and there was some really high points and some really great things, but actually the most important stuff I've done is when I've been able to be a little piece of changing people's lives, just as I went on a youth development expedition when I was 18, and it changed my life. So I'm a great believer in that work. So in all of that time, and not just on youth development expeditions, but on all sorts of adventures, I saw change. I could see this positive effect of adventure, and I couldn't understand why we weren't talking about it. And I kind of identified, this is my take on trying to quantify the benefits of adventure. And the more I have researched, the more I kind of want to adapt and change and add to. But I think what I was really interested in is why don't we talk about this? And also, how do I put this into words? How do I understand? I can witness it, I can see it's happening, but why can't I explain it, and why don't I understand it? And as an outdoor leader, this is, I think, something that we should all understand to some degree, because it's the magic that it's the real value, I think, of what we do. So for the last 10 years, I've been curious, and curiosity leads led to me reading hundreds of scientific papers from all over the place, different disciplines, and trying to figure out what the value is, and trying to put an argument together and as to why we need to change how we talk about and rebrand adventure. I also set up Explorers Connect, and the mission of that was very much to try to start this rebranding of adventure. Explorers Connect is a community to inspire adventure, but because it's important, not just because it's fun, but it is fun some of the time, but because it's important and because it's an essential part of our lives, I think, of being human. So I set up Explorers Connect, and this is this is Basecamp Festival. We used to have a festival every year, which I've had to put on pause while I have a son now, and there's only so much you can do every day, fit in every year. Wicked, not only having amazing fun, but this is where I first started to talk about these ideas and share these ideas and try to get feedback about, why aren't we valuing adventure, and what are the psychology models that maybe back this up, and the theories and some of the data. And so for about 7-8 years, I think, I've been talking about this and trying to kind of get momentum, try to get people talking about adventure in a different way. And then obviously I wrote a book, well not obviously, but you have all been given a book today as part of the delegate information coming. So also I wanted to write a book because I feel this is like my mission statement. This is it's the first time, it's the first argument for why adventure is good for our mental health and our well-being. And I think that we need, it's lots of stories and so on, but it is really about trying to back it up with science and trying to break it down into what's going on, what's good. I am not I think it's a good go, and I think there's a lot of good ideas in here, but there is also so much more. I could have written 2 books. There's a lot more to say, and there's some brilliant more evidence that's come out since I've written the book, and it's just, I think it's it's the first argument, and hopefully a good one. And yeah, I think it is a good one. So hopefully it will help for you. I know many of you have read it already, but hopefully if you have read it already, you can give it as a Christmas present, and if you haven't, you can help you to communicate the power and the importance of adventure, because that's why I wrote it. It's so that we can communicate the value, because if we can't communicate the value of adventure, then we're stuck. I think that's one of our problems. And also not to forget the fantastic work that's already out there around adventure therapy. Adventure therapy has been around for a long time. There's the leading sort of academic book on it, Adventure Therapy, is a fantastic book. And this is very important resources out there as well. This was more for a popular audience. It's more, and also to create a wider argument. It's not just about adventure therapy, but it's occupational therapy. It's what can outdoor leaders do? What's a much broader way that we can look at adventure? Not just as adventure therapy, but as a way of building our capacity, of living our best lives, and in a much more positive psychology or a much broader sense, because I think we have much more opportunity than just, very, very brilliant, but just adventure therapy. So that was the next stage. Oh. And then, of course, 5 years ago, I launched the first Adventure Mind conference, and started talking to people around the world about what can we do to bring people together. The first conference was very much about trying to engage the scientists in this area to really, trying to encourage and excite the scientists in the area to do more research in this area and to help get it out to us, because we want to share it. That was effective, and also I think COVID has been effective at pushing that part of research and helping to get the research budgets in place, so that more and more is being done than ever, I think, at the moment, which is fantastic news. So original Adventure Mind was to try to show the research that's out there, although slightly buried and some of it very old, but also to show the new research coming through and to kind of encourage and celebrate the research in this area. Subsequent Adventure Minds are all about the practitioner, well, not all about, but the focus is more on how do we strengthen the practitioner? How do we help the community of people who are delivering adventure for mental health? And so hopefully the next 2 days will do that. I've lost my train of thought a little. So this is what so that kind of tells you where Adventure Mind has come from and brings us sort of up to date. This was the mission statement I came to Adventure Mind last year with. Again, I love having a statement, something to direct thought, because there's a lot to do, and we can't do everything. And I'm the sort of person who would try to do everything, but I must stop myself from that. So this is what I came to last year with. And then thank you for your feedback. For the people who are here or who are watching, thank you for the feedback from last year, because it was invaluable in giving us direction of travel for the last 12 months. And since then, this is what I think we've picked up. And there was so much wonderful feedback, both from the conference and also from conversations and meetings with all sorts of mental health and well-being and outdoor organisations over the year. But it's like, what's the low-hanging fruit? What can we focus on first? And what are the problems we're facing? The first one I think we have to deal with is, what is the biggest barrier? And having taken, I wouldn't say a statistically rigorous data set, but a pretty good data set. I think it confirmed what I was feeling, but it was good to get some confirmation. The ability to communicate the value of adventure is probably the main issue that we're facing. So what we need to do is think about changing words like elite to everyone. We need to change, when people think of adventure, they think of elitism, they think it's frivolous as well. We need to change frivolous into essential. So we need to change those ideas, both by using different language and also by the data. And I shall be coming to that in a minute. So that is our biggest, and of course, when you can't communicate the value of adventure, it's very hard to get funding. The organisations that will be speaking about funding tomorrow, and there's some brilliant other organisations in here, they're good at talking about their impact. They're good at measuring their value. And there is a philosophical debate about do we have to do that, but that is just the reality. So that's a very important barrier that we have to get over. Another theme, well, a theme that came out from the last year, especially from the conference actually, was accessibility. This came up, and reading all the feedback, absorbing all the conversations, this came up again and again, and it's probably the main reason that we have small adventures, big impact as our theme today for this conference. This doesn't exclude big adventures because they have a very important place. But I think there's lots of things to say here. If we entry level, if we can reach people earlier and easier, we can reach more people. And we can potentially reach the people who we're not yet reaching. So I think this entry level idea, small and free, and this idea, there's a sustainability question that is obviously very much in all of our minds. The earth is on fire, and we have to balance those sorts of considerations with the value of what we're doing. And I think we need, actually, as a community, as a society in the Western world, we need to harness our mental health because we need to deal with these problems. At the moment, we're not really dealing with them. Well, many of us are, or trying to, but our world leaders don't seem to be. Anyway, getting away from the politics. So small, DIY, free, do-it-yourself. These sort of very much about accessibility, and also accessibility to groups that might not be usually represented in this area. This is all very, whoops, nearly dropped it. These are all very important points, and this accessibility thing came up again and again, and I wasn't mining for it. It came up very naturally at the last conference. And then, of course, these two go together at the end. Uniting is really big. I'm a big collaborator. I always think collaboration is the key to making any sort of change in the world. And so a couple of themes that came up through the last year has been let's join up the steps. So we need to join up the industry, and also we need to join up the interventions, therapies, opportunities. Now I'll expand a bit on these. Joining up the industry, we have hopefully a step in that direction, which I'll talk about in a minute. But this is very important because if we all help each other and feed into each other, we're going to be a much more powerful force. And I think the outdoors or the adventure industry doesn't. I think there's something that we can do there more. Anyway, let's put it that way. And the other thing is, joining up the steps. Paul, who is the head of the BMC, we had a conversation, and he said something, and it stuck in my head. And then I realised that it's actually what lots of people were saying, and also another conversation I had with the brilliant Chris Loynes, when a brilliant researcher. We were taught this idea that we can give people these opportunities, but if you just give somebody who's never done anything like this a single opportunity, and then they're never given another opportunity or ways to create their opportunities afterwards and foster their own longevity in this action. DOV and all these wonderful things, youth development expeditions, all these, and these are fantastic organisations and fantastic programmes, but we're not joining them up. And I think also, it's been great because this year I've been talking to organisations about following up. What do you do afterwards? Because you do this wonderful programme, but what happens after? What's the cheapest, easiest ways for people to maybe a peer-led thing. I mean, there's lots of ways to do it, but that kept coming up. We're not joining things up, and there's a wonderful opportunity. I don't know how we're going to do it. These are just some themes and some ideas. But joining up those steps, I'm very interested in that. So if you've got any ways that you think that we can do that better, that we can just share ideas here over the next 2 days or something, then that would be great. And then the other unite is the same language. I've talked about this idea from moving from elite to everyone and from frivolous to essential. I think essential is a great word around adventure. It's part of our human nature. I asked you at the last conference, I asked you your opinion on some different phrases around how can we communicate. Like, we need to get under a banner, we need to start using the same sort of language and to unite, because it helps visibility and recognition and support. And so it was really interesting. The things that have not, and I've been talking to lots of brands, but had some brilliant people offer their help, marketing managers and heads of big brands, brand experts, stuff that I really have no idea on because it's really not my brain. And it was really interesting. There was some fantastic phrases out there, but some of them don't ring with other people. Adventure therapy, as brilliant as it is, and I thought it was going to be maybe the one that we could get behind, it's too clinical, and the scientific and clinical isn't connecting with the people that can't get in this space already. It's just another barrier. Adventure mindset, I thought would be great. But again, apparently it's got this connotation of, at least you've got to have an adventure mindset to do adventure, not that you get one by doing it, which isn't what I would say is true, but if that's the perception, we have to go with it. So there's some wonderful language that has come back with some positives. Adventure for mental health has been very positive. Adventure for well-being, adventure effect, and those three were particularly positive here, but also in the talks that I've had and the focus groups that some of these lovely organisations have helped with. So these are lovely. These are lovely things that we want to drop into conversation when we're talking about the benefits. Life-changing is the other one. That was positively like, okay, adventure's life-changing? So these phrases, if we start using essential and life-changing and all of these sorts of phrases instead, but also we need a single thing, especially on the social media channels, to try to help us find each other and, enlarge our voice. And Adventure Mind came back on all of the ways that we did it, both here at the conference last year and in these focus group stuff, as being the top one, because there's no barriers to it, and it's more aspirational, and it also covers everything. Adventure therapy, adventure for mental health, adventure for personal development, adventure for well-being, adventure for youth development. All of these things are kind of encompassed with a much broader thing. So what I might ask for today is that we start using this hashtag more to help find each other, to help communicate, and then we can network better. And I know social media is not everyone's favourite thing. It's definitely not mine. But it is part of how we're going to get the word out about what we do and about the importance of adventure for wider mental health in this country and further. So here's some lovely, you weren't expecting to have your faces so big, I'm sure, today. So those were some of the things that we identified. And these are some of the solutions and the things that we're trying to do now. So Adventure Mind as a word seems to be the most popular. And so we're using that on everything now. And we talked about uniting. And also, that's why I did one after the other. Lots of people, I can't go back. Lots of people have asked last year, we want to put your logo on our website. And I've said, well, hold fire, because I'm not sure how do we want to approach that? We are building a directory, which will be free, which will be open to everyone. We might ask for donations. We'll have to see how our funding model goes. But the whole point is for it to be, it's all non-profit, but the idea will be everyone can join this directory, but it'll be very vigorous about how we present. It'll have a lot of information about how we present different professionals. So this is the brilliant Joshua Anderson. and Stefan, who many of you have met, Stefan Natadchuk, and both of them are here today. Do you want to wave? You don't have to, but there you go. Oh, there they are. They will be available to you in the coffee breaks if you have any questions. They are helping to devise this directory. When you filled in your delegate information, that is also the basis of us. It's like a beta testing of the directory. We want to get it right before we launch it in January on the new AdventureMind website. So if you have any feedback or if you want to know more, these guys will be around. They've done an amazing job. Stefan, many of you will know, he's a leading adventure therapist and has written a fantastic book and has been here last year and the year before, if you haven't met him already. Joshua is very passionate, is a very good outdoor leader to be adventure therapist might be the fair way of putting it, is studying at the moment. He's very passionate about how do you get into this. And so if you have any ideas or thoughts and you want to talk to someone about how do people get into this, the directory is going to help with that, but also Joshua's here, right here today, so you can have a chat to him about that. So this is a really important part of this uniting and networking. So feel free to join up or feel free to ask some more. This is the very snazzily entitled AMREP, the AdventureMind Research and Evidence Panel. And these beautiful people are an amazing set of people who are helping to sort out this biggest problem that we have, this barrier. How do we communicate the value of adventure? The AMREP board is all about getting curating the evidence out there around adventure for mental health and helping to share it in a way that will help promote more research and will help promote wider application. I think I've said that okay. It's the wonderful Helen Dodd, who many of you saw speak last year, is a child psychologist from University of Exeter. The amazing Alan Hewitt from Indiana University, Professor Emeritus, and many of you, if you've been reading a lot of research, he came up with the black box, like why does adventure work, like change people in a good way. He was the guy who came up with, he's a bit of a legend as well. These are all legends, really. Jill, you might have seen, if you were here last year, Jill is an associate professor at Sheffield Hallam in tourism, doing amazing research in that area. Sam and Brian are from University of Central Lancashire. Sam is here today as well if you want to chat to her. Sam is the lead for the social prescribing unit, also an ex-outdoor instructor, so understands it from every side, and an occupational therapist. Brian is the head of school at the University of Central Lancashire for sport. He's a sports psychologist by background. And then the wonderful Kelvin, who'll be here tomorrow. Kelvin has been president of BAML, the British Association of International Mountain Leaders, until very recently, and runs Mental Health Northwest. And so it's a very quick introduction to these guys. We have a fantastic set of researchers here, leading researchers in this area, but also social prescribers, and Kelvin is very, very good at a very experienced practitioner. And I'm in there as well, but I couldn't fit 7 pictures on, and you can see me. So what we're doing with this is, and this will all be shared on the website, and hopefully, as soon as possible next year, we will have data to share with you, curated, quality-controlled, data that will help you when you're talking about your research, when talking about your practice. It'll help inform your practice and also help you talk about the value of your practice. So, and all sorts of other things we're coming up with, or they're coming up with, really. I'm just sort of sitting in the background going, oh, this is brilliant. And then the cherry on top. On the new website, which will hopefully be launched as soon as possible. It was supposed to be by today, but not everything gets done in time. Things happen. Is the AdventureMind grant. Sorry. The Adventure Mind grant is for individuals, families, and small teams to undertake an adventure which will promote their self-development and well-being. It's particularly for people and families who have gone through challenging, difficult times and will benefit from this, who financially can't usually access an adventure, and the full details will go up. It is supported by the brilliant Helen Davis Family Foundation and the fantastic Go Ape, that I just did Go Ape actually for the first time this year. It had masses of fun, as well as has lots of team building and so on. It was amazing. So these great organisations are going to help fund this, but also Go Ape are as part of it there's a Go Ape experience as before the adventure that they take on, they have a little team building session with Go Ape because it really is good for that. So this will be on the website and we will be sharing it with you very soon, as soon as we can. And so please do share it with anyone who you think might be interested. Right, I think I've gone on for far too long, but we did start late. Adventure Mind Conference this year. Very briefly, why small? We've sort of talked about it. This idea of accessibility being a key part of getting people involved, that especially people we might not be able to reach, and also because we have a cost of living crisis. So I think free, easy, cheap, accessible is really important. So that's why we've gone small this year. But also, this is really important, this is not to exclude the big adventures and expeditions, because these are really essential to be in our ecosystem. When you have these small techniques, you can scale them up as much as you want. So if we have these small ideas, not small, big ideas, but in small packages, they can be incorporated into bigger adventures. And that's why I think it was not excluding anyone, but it's actually a really good opportunity. So I hope you enjoy all the workshops and the talks that will be reinforcing this. And then I have one more question for you. Grab me over the next couple of days. At the moment, we have a fantastic collaboration between organisations and individuals who are offering their time and resources to make all of these things happen. For long term, there needs to be a more official, sustainable model. I know that there's brilliant organisations here who have set up CICs or charities or maybe less official setups, well, official setups, but in different formats. I would love for you to, you've got an idea of what we're trying to do. It started with me doing lots of stuff on my own, but that isn't sustainable. And it's not about me, it's about making something happen. There's now an amazing bunch of people involved in this, but we need some sort of, we have some ideas, but I would love for this 2 days to get more of your input on how do you, and also this is your community, it's going to be your community, and it's going to help you guys, hopefully. What are your thoughts? Yeah, maybe by setting up a certain sort of CIC, you've been able to access certain sort of funding. Maybe you've set up different types of collaborative networks and you found some pitfalls and some bonuses. I would love your feedback, basically. Come and talk to me, because yeah, when I set up Adventure Mind, the first conference, I'd never been to a conference before, and it was imperfect but effective. At the moment, we are imperfect but effective continuing, but I would like to get it better. So please come and let me know what you think. Thank you.